I think when you look at what's been bought in, because this is year 3, so we can't. The clock hasn't only just started now. There are some nuances where you say, okay, you've got to compartmentalise that and this, that, and the other, and give him another chance to fix it. So don't sack him after 3 games of this. But overall, this is his 3rd season.
Yeah.
And when you're looking at the impact he's had over the squad, Onana absolutely wanted him. Look at what Onana's doing. Positionally, awful. Distribution, terrible. That's the main thing we're supposed to have bought him for. Yeah. So that's not looking like a hit. You've got Martinez, the butcher. We love him. But that's your guy. He's in there. So you've got what you wanted there. We've now got you De Ligt. He's playing next to him. We've now got you Mazraoui. He's starting.
3 of your back 4 are players that you've coached before.
And then add your goalkeeper as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Now you're looking at Anthony, which even by his own admission now is not even getting off the bench. No. Barely making the match day squad.
There's no point him showing up really at this point.
No point. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Casemiro came in under his watch. Albeit, I get it, we wanted Frankie de Jong. I get that. But Casemiro was signed under his stewardship. So there's a lot there where you're going, hang on a minute. This is your team. There's no... now we've given you Xerxes, now we've given you Ugarte, that could be Ineos-led, etc., etc. Lenny Yoro, generational opportunity to sign him, fantastic. I feel like Omar Barada was across that and Dan Ashworth, opportunistic signings, etc., etc. But there's good players that have been signed there, and we're seeing a continuation of the performances. That's only going to fall in one direction, is it not, Crookie? And that's the manager.
Yeah, I take your point. I had done a story actually on my notebook on the talkSPORT website today about the fact that Ten Hag was also keen to re-sign Amrabat, having had a mixed spell last season, did well in the FA Cup final. The rest of his United career, I think, was forgettable. But
and he didn't even use him for half of it. He kept him on the bench.
Jason Wilcox and Dan Ashworth weren't on board with that. So I think that tells you there is a power shift in terms of recruitment, which Ten Hag, I'm told, is fine with, by the way, because he didn't necessarily want to be so hands-on with recruitment anyway, but previously he just didn't trust the hierarchy above him. But you're right, there are a lot of connections between manager and player with a lot of these signings. And we said last week, he's got no excuses. He's got the structure above him now. They've got rid of Mason Greenwood. They cashed in and sacrificed Jason Sancho because he doesn't get along with Ten Hag. I think that was probably a difficult decision for Ineos because, that was a player the club paid a lot of money for and couldn't, for whatever reason, get the best out of him. So there are no more excuses. There's no Mason Greenwood situation hanging over his head. There's no Jadon Sancho being disruptive in the dressing room. There are 17 players that have left the football club this summer, and the ones that have come in have all been approved by the manager.
Is that a reason why, though, Cookie, it might take more time? Is that a reason why, with the 14 outgoings or 17, as you say, is that a reason why he could be like, listen, that's why I just need more time? I know it's difficult, on the pitch is terrible, but just from a Ten Hag perspective, is that why he could be like, I need more time?
Doesn't work like that. Look at Arne Slot. I know it's a different situation. He's inherited a very good team anyway, but he's not taken too long at all to make his mark there. Look at Unai Emery. Took on Steven Gerrard's underperforming team and took them into the Champions League. Eddie Howe did similar at Newcastle with no funds initially. He needs to prove himself. He needs to prove he can get Manchester United fighting back at the top end of the table. And based on what we saw on Sunday, that isn't going to happen anytime soon. But no, I don't think he's going to get time. He's not going to get time from the fans. I don't think he's going to get time in the dressing room. And I wonder how much time he's going to get from the hierarchy.
And the thing is, Ange, just like we as fans, like you said really well earlier, and I really agree with you, that we want to avoid, as Man United fans, this managerial carousel. We've been on it many times. We want to get off that now. We want to just get our teeth into a project. But when you see some of the things we're seeing, like Crookie said earlier, it's trying to defend the indefensible. But a marginal defeat to Brighton, a somewhat expected defeat to Liverpool with the teams. Is this just a premature panic that's setting in after game week 3, or is this justified? Is this? Can you see why this reaction is happening?
I think it's completely justified because, again, this is season 3 of it. And I think the issue is we're not seeing any kind of progression or change or improvements. I do understand that it's 3 games, but you should be, you're playing Fulham, opening game of the Premier League season. You're at home. As much as we were, happy with that game and there were some positives to take from it, in reality, you should be hammering a side like Fulham. Brighton, I get that they are a very, very good
Also
club.
a new manager, 31 years of age.
A new manager, a kid is basically running rings round Ten Hag at this point.
Plus a 38-year-old James Milner.
Yeah.
However old he is now.
It's just, and I don't want to take anything away from Brighton because I think they, the club in general is brilliant.
Yeah.
This manager is clearly very good. They have a lot of very good players. But again, if you're looking to be in the top four, if you're competing with, you want to be competing with the likes of Liverpool and City and Arsenal, these games, they shouldn't be going the way that they're going. So, and because it is the third season of it, I get why some people might think, oh, maybe it's a bit premature, but we've been watching this. This is the third season of us watching it now. We're not seeing things change. And maybe, I don't know, like people watching it if you were at the game, but it was the atmosphere of that game for me. It felt very, very pivotal. It was strange. That I can't express that enough. That for me is what got me kind of switched and
like
thinking
a changing of a guard. You thought, oh, it's pivoted here.
Like I say, the clock started for me then, and that for me is what really, the manner in which we played that game and the way that he's been, like his demeanour, everything, the fans, it's just...
But 8 managers since Fergie's left and nothing has changed. We've been through, and it's that same old argument, isn't it? We've been through managers with great history, who have won the top honours and are established in the game. We've gone for younger managers. We've gone for Premier League experienced managers. We've had a club legend that can get a feel-good factor and knows exactly what it takes to succeed here and this, that and the other. Then we've gone for... again, a young up-and-coming coach in Erik Ten Hag who's achieved quite a bit in the European game and is an aspiring good coach. And now his reputation is now down the pan. Nothing has seemed to have worked.
No, and a lot of that as well is due to the people that are in charge at Man United. I will say about Ruud van Nistelrooy, I think when you look at the kind of the caretakers that we've had before, like, the Michael Carrick, Ollie, he's probably had the most success away from United, I would probably say, out of all of them.
One season at PSV, he was in the
but it's still not enough.
I think he won the cup as well.
It's still not enough. I think it would be very sensational, and for him to, step in and PR-wise, it'd be great.
We'd be losing our minds.
But he's not the answer to the problem. And the more I think about it, the more I do think about somebody like Pochettino. And
really,
I do. I know.
Get him out of the United States men's national team. That's where his stock has taken him to at the minute. Angelina, big shout. Go back in for Poch.
Well, he's not signed his contract yet, I
Brilliant.
believe.
Is he waiting, is he? Oh, right, okay. I thought he was there.
Listen, I've got to tell you, I'm a massive Pochettino fan. I saw him at close quarters, what he did at Southampton. Players like Luke Shaw played his best football of his career.
He's only football.
Under Pochettino at Southampton. and he's not the only one. So, I've been crying out for Pochettino for some time. I wanted him when Ollie was there. I wanted him when Ten Hag came in. So I certainly wouldn't be against it. I know, listen, you tell me that he's a trophy dodger, he doesn't win things. I think he's a brilliant coach. I think he's a brilliant manager. And I think he would bring the feel-good factor back to that dressing room. So, again, I'm not saying fire Ten Hag and get Pochettino in. Yeah. But if you're asking me now, if there is going to be a change of manager, who would you appoint? I'm very much in the Pochettino camp.
Wow, yeah. I didn't think. I thought that trip had. I thought that bus had gone. That the ship had sailed. For me, the more I think about it, I get what people are saying about trophies, but this is someone who will commit to a project. And I just think when you look, especially, I guess, with Spurs, like some of those players that were quite young when he arrived, he brought quite a few of them in and kind of brought them up and improved them massively. So it's little things like that for me of like what he was capable of doing. And also, with Spurs, they finished, second under him? They got to a Champions League final. That Spurs team that had nowhere near as much kind of, money and backing as maybe Manchester United would give. I don't know, maybe I'm just becoming a bit delusional. What did they win? Do you know what? Before Eric came to Man United, when it was that season when we were trying to work out who, I was for Pochettino then. I was like, between him and Pochettino, I don't really mind. I quite like them both. Yeah. Now, I see it as like a sloppy seconds again. I think we've got to stay away from the previous big names. I think we need to go on to the next. Like, Liverpool have just done it with Arne Slot. Like, he's the next. They were looking at Ruben Amorim before that, the next. I'm not saying Fabian Herzler is the choice, but, you know, Brighton have looked at the next. I want the next. Now,
I understand
the
that.
next, maybe it is Ruud van Nistelrooy, but I think this is why it was so difficult in the climate that it was in this summer, that none of these teams that got new managers got their first choices. I mean, Thomas Tuchel in the summer, I'll be honest, I was like, if I'm going to choose anyone, it's not De Zerbi, it's not Potter, it's not Southgate, I would have Tuchel. The problem with that is
Agreed.
how long does the project last? What happens when he doesn't get a few signers he wants?
But if he was just going to kind of pick us back up and get that feel-good factor.
But I think he's got standards, he's got respect, he's got know-how at the top level of the game, and I like him as a manager. I think he speaks really well, he's got the personality, and I think the players would respect him and he can get a job. So I wouldn't have minded him. I just think now, I think the worst thing we could do would be to go and try and revive some of these guys where we're like, it didn't work for him at Chelsea. He did okay at Spurs.
I
PSG,
think he's waiting.
Right.
I'm with Crookie. I reckon he's waiting.
Get me Unai Emery out of Villa.
Yeah, I spoke to Pochettino after Soccer Aid.
Oh, that's why then. You've been charmed then.
Basically, we're best mates now. But he even said, I asked him about what's your plan, what's next, and he was saying, I am more than happy to stay in the Premier League. Like, I want my next job. And I was like, really? I was so desperate to be like, would you? But yeah, like, he's, you know, maybe we can put a call in with someone. If he's not put pen to paper, I think, Crookie, I think you need to get onto this.
He's on the phone now, look, he's trying to sort it out. Let us know, guys, were you guys watching at home? Because Pochettino would be a one for the books. I'm not for that. Angelina's saying, listen, I could see it. And Crookie wouldn't be against it.
I would prefer to see Ten Hag this not.
Yes.
I don't want to see him sacked, can I just say?